Hello, everyone. Now, have you ever wondered why teaching grammar is sometimes challenging for you as a teacher and sometimes challenging for students to understand and apply? Have you ever asked yourself, like, I have done a really good job teaching this grammatical structure, but students don't seem to get it or students don't seem to understand it? This is Hamid Sharif, and in this video, we'll discuss different ideas about teaching grammar and the correct sequence when teaching grammatical structures. Now, first, let's acknowledge that there is no one way for teaching grammar. You can teach grammar effectively in many different ways. But all or almost all the ways agreed that when teaching grammar or teaching any grammatical structure, we need to focus on three main elements. The first one of them is the meaning. The second one can be either pronunciation or form. And of course, the third one again can be either pronunciation or form. Now, if we think about it logically, students normally need to understand the meaning first of whatever they are studying so that they can understand the form and then understand the pronunciation features. What happens in some of the classrooms is that some teachers start by focusing on the form, and sometimes they neglect or they do not focus on teaching the meaning or the use of the grammatical structure first, which means this will cause a lot of problems for students when trying to understand why we use the grammar structure or when we use the grammar structure. So basically, what we need to do first is to focus on the meaning. We teach the meaning first, and this can happen through many different ways. We can expose students through texts, written texts, or listening texts. We can check their understanding using concept questions and timelines. And then we can move to eliciting the form from students or working on the pronunciation, sentence stress, word stress, whatever phonological features we're focusing on, and then we can end it by eliciting the form. Now, we shouldn't put form first because form is not the most important aspect of the teaching process. Meaning is actually the most important aspect because if students understood the meaning and use of the grammatical structure, they are more likely to understand the form and how to use it. And this is why sometimes it's difficult for students to use the grammatical structure you just taught, although you might have spent 40 minutes or 45 minutes teaching the grammatical structure. Mainly, you might have focused on the form a little bit more than the meaning. You might have focused on parts of the meaning, not the full meaning, which means students will not be able to use it. So, if we took, for example, teaching the past simple, and if we took, to be more specific, teaching the past simple using regular verbs, first we need to start about why we use the past simple, when we use it, and then we need to check students' understanding using timelines and concept questions. Did it happen now or in the past? Is it a completed action or not? So we can ask a couple of questions with the timelines. We establish that they have understood the meaning of the grammatical structure. Then we can move forward and focus on form. For example, when do we put D, ED, or IED with different regular verbs? After that, we can also focus on the pronunciation of the ed endings because, as you know, we can pronounce it in three different ways, either ed, t, or d. Now, if you look at this process now, we mainly covered the three aspects, the meaning, the form, and the pronunciation, which means students are more likely to be able to use the grammatical structure later on in controlled practice and freer practice activities. So, to sum it up, if you're teaching any grammatical structure, the first thing that you need to focus on is basically the meaning or use. The second thing can be either form or pronunciation, and the third thing can be also either form or pronunciation. Just make sure that when you're focusing on pronunciation features, it's more related to the grammar structure you're teaching because every grammatical structure has its unique features. So again, as we said, in the past simple, we might focus on the ed endings. In the present simple, we might focus on the s endings. In the present perfect, we might focus on weak forms and sentence stress. So every structure has its own features. So thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed. And if you have any questions about the video, please leave me a comment and I will read all your comments and try to address them in later videos. Thank you so much.